Hello and welcome to FTB Sports. This is the Tottenham Hotspur post-match reaction show, and Tottenham have won 4-0. I am Sam Spurs and I'm joined by my special guest today. Going round, we've got Mike, we have Darius, we have Marlon. Hello guys, as you can see, big smiles on my face. So it means that everything is glorious in the Spurs camp as of today. 4-0. Easy game. I would suspect that's one of the, I would say pretty much I would say it's a routine performance. I expected us to score, because we talked about in the preview shows, we expected goals to be going in. The surprising stat, well, not surprising. Burnley haven't really scored against us at home in a couple of games. So yeah, as I said, I was going to say the surprising thing was that they didn't score, but we did the job. We did the job. Good game, good performance. Who wants to go first on what they thought of the performance today?
I don't want to go first. Because I might bring a little bit of negativity, and I don't want to start off with it. So
there's always things to say. We can always be critical, and that's the good thing. You can always pick holes in things that you can improve on. But when we talk about having lost 5 out of the last 6 games, today was all about winning. There was nothing else that we had to do but win. Even when I was speaking to Marlon put on a text earlier, it was all about winning today. So getting the job done is what we've done, but we've got it done in style. And I liked some of the backtracking that Mr. Keane had to do just in his interview
I
afterwards.
missed that, I need to see it.
Yeah, he was going hammer and tong at Spurs. Jamie Redknapp, you could see he was like ready to burst, but then, having to say, oh yeah, well, blah, 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 it's only Burnley, and I could have played in that. It's just one of them comments. He's going to do that sort of thing. Yeah. But anyway, it is a victory. Spurs have won today. Mike, you start off. Give us your overview of the game.
Right, I'm gonna say this. This is the first one. Sanchez,
number 6,
number 6 actually played decent today.
Played well.
Today. I think we can use his name
to him
today. There is nothing negative I can say about Sanchez today, so I'm going to use his name today. Sanchez, we can call you by your name, your regular name, as opposed to just a number. Sorry. Now, go on, mate.
Yeah, no, I'm going to give it to him. He didn't have a bad game today, to be fair. And I wonder if that's Toby maybe giving him 100%. A bit of assurance, talking in his ear. You can't really, you can never hear what the players are saying to each other on the pitch. But yeah, it's a bit of a coincidence, isn't it? Keep a clean sheet. Toby's at the back. He should have been there probably 5 or 6 games ago. You just don't know, do you? But I thought we came out of the blocks quick. Like we said in the preview, we started with that attack in a tent. And I just wonder if now Mourinho's got players coming back from injury, he's let those shackles off a little bit, and he's given them a bit more freedom to play with, to play and attack. Bale, what can you say? I think that he's coming back. I think was it his second goal, he gave a bit of a look as to be like, yeah,
I saw that.
I'm here.
When he looked to the camera to the left.
What are you not saying?
Yeah. What are you saying? That's exactly
what I said.
What are you saying?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, what are you all saying now? 2 goals and assists. You can't. Yeah. I don't care what Premier League team that's against. Any team in the Premier League, anyone can beat anyone in this league. So the fact it was Burnley, to me, that doesn't really matter. It was more pleasing the fact that he got 2 goals. The first one was a bit of a toe poke in the back of the net, but he'll take that all day long. Yeah, lost his man, and it was there to put in the back of the net. Second goal, he took well. You can't, again, as soon as you put him back onto that left foot, if he hits the target, you're going to put your money on him hitting that back of the net. And his ball to Kane.
The diagonal.
The diagonal where he's basically put Kane through, and not Kane through, but Kane still had a bit of work to do to get his goal. But I think Bale's back. And Ndombele and Højbjerg, they bossed the midfield. I don't have really negative. The only thing you could say that was a little bit, I say negative, is maybe Burnley were able to put a few too many balls into the box. And they found at times a little bit of freedom. Was it down Auria's side? I think it might have been Auria's side.
Reguilón was solid,
Yeah, but again, Auria, he got back, sort of saw the threat out most of the time. I know there was when the balls did get into the box, the centre backs dealt with it, and that's probably why Sanchez was there. Probably because he's better in the air than Dyer. Same with Toby. Yeah, I think it was a pretty solid day for us.
I put the starting 11 up just so we've seen that, and the starting 11 today. I'll just take off the little bit there, so we've got a little bit more clearer view of that. Oops, sorry. So what we talked about in the preview show, we all wanted to see pretty much this team, apart from I guess Mora and Sanchez being the two, Dele Alli and maybe Dyer. But now I'd seen the Burnley lineup. I didn't realize that Ashley Barnes and Chris Woods were out injured, and Chris Woods was just coming back. The reason why Sanchez played was obviously the pace to deal with the pace of Rodriguez and Vidra, who did look like they had a bit about them, but not enough about them. You know, they weren't going to pose the same sort of challenges as what Ashley Barnes and Chris Woods would have had. And then I would have been a little bit more concerned about Sanchez being in there, because I don't think he deals that well with the physical aspects of the game. He does do well against pace, or does better against pace. So Darius, I'll come to you. Did you like what you saw from Spurs today?
Yeah, I did. I liked what I saw from Spurs, and I think I can't complain at the performances of every player. I think everyone played well. I think when I said that I might be slightly negative, I think the only thing I want to say about the performance is how bad Burnley were. And I think that might have played a little bit of a role of why we played, looked like we played a little bit better than usual, because I think Burnley just let us, the formation that they set up with, and I know they don't really change their formation, but the way they set up did not give them any chance to even get into this game. They had a flat 4-4-2, and we had players who were dropping in. We had more than one player who was dropping in. If Kane was to drop in, some would go up front, and Bale was also still dropping in. So we were flooding that midfield, and they couldn't do anything. And for me, yes, you have to beat who you are in front, but we should be beating these teams. I think Roy Keane, while he takes the piss a little bit, I think what he was saying kind of had a little bit of truth to it, whereas we should be beating Burnley, and you should expect these performances. And it's the consistency that I want to see, because we've seen our team put in good performances. I've seen our team put in good performances on games, but the thing that we've lacked this season, well, I'd say after November, is the consistency, and we've not seemed to string together a lot of results. So what I want to see from this is taking the good of this performance, a lot of good from this performance, especially the individuals, and putting that into games where you might have a little bit more pressure on you. And I want to see that ability continue if your opposition players are pressuring you, because a lot of the time the players had space to play these great balls, and they were great balls and they were accurate passes, but Burnley did not put any pressure on us. And yeah, that's my only thing. But in terms of the individual performances, you can't complain, can you? I mean, Bale had a great game. Kane, I said to Sam when we were watching the game, our best players and our most influential players are now, they are reaching a consistency level where we don't really see their good performances as much as we do maybe Bale and Sanchez, because they aren't having as good. Like, for example, Højbjerg and Ndombele, Reguilón, Kane, and even Son to an extent. They all had pretty great games, but you expect that from them, and that's why I don't think we didn't really acknowledge that. I think that Højbjerg, and especially Højbjerg and Kane, I think those two played really, really well today, and they're not going to get man of the match because obviously Bale and Sanchez, who haven't been as good, have put in better performances. But I definitely think that the individual performances are something that we can really take from this and look to progress in that in the future, because we've got difficult games coming up. I mean, Fulham, I know we should beat Fulham, but we drew against them earlier on, and then Arsenal's coming up in a couple of weeks, and I just want to see that consistency. That's what it is. It was a great performances, but this consistency needs to continue. We need to see this into the next games and the following games. And if Bale's at this level, then we've got a really, really good view of this final half of the season. I think that we could really do something, especially if Bale and Ali are playing at the level they seem to be playing at the moment. We can definitely do something.
Well, listen, I thought that Burnley played into our hands, but we made them play into our hands because we got the goal within 1 minute 20. Burnley were always going to play a deep, low block. Had we not scored early, that low block would have continued. By scoring early, that completely changed their game plan. They had to press, but they weren't able to press very well.
No.
What was happening is the front two were pressing and leaving gaps. When you play a 4-4-2, it's lines. And I keep saying, when you don't have triangles in that middle, when you don't flood the midfield, it allows players to get in between lines and dictate play. So when Vidra and Rodriguez are pressing our back two, it meant both their other lines were deeper back. So we were able to pick up the ball with Ndombele or even Son or even Kane. Kane particularly getting that number 10. So it made it easier for us. They played into our hands because we scored early. I think it would have been a different game had it gone 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in, 40 minutes in. There would have been more pressure applied to us. We would have been maybe having to force it a bit more. And then the result could have been a little bit more in doubt. And remember, we hadn't been on a good run. And Marlon, as Marlon was saying earlier, is a must-win game. Regardless of how you played, it had to be a must-win game. So I think, yeah, you're right in what you said, Darius. We were decent, and Burnley did play into our hands. And it doesn't mean to say that this is going to be magnificent Spurs, but we have to give credit where credit is due to the plays that did perform.
Every player, no player really played bad today, did they?
And I was going to say, I think all the players did perform well. Marlon, what's your thoughts on how the team was put together? I guess from a starting 11 perspective from Jose today.
I thought it was good. I think you had to start Bale, and I think the fact that he has the quality going forward, and you can actually compensate for him not really doing much defending, but because he's got the ability going forward, he just cuts out your Lamellas and your Bergwijn because they don't have what he's got. He might have a bad game, but then he can pull off a pass or he can score the goals which he scored, and those two have had the opportunities. Now, I noticed it today with Lamella. I like him, but he slows the game down. Same with Ali. Ali got caught on the ball a couple of times today. I'm thinking, play faster. That's why you're not playing the game. But to me, it's like a continuous from the second half in the West Ham game. Played well. Let's keep it going. Sanchez played well as well.
Yeah,
Sanchez actually played really well, and that's crazy. He actually played really well.
You're not going to give me grief on that one. As I said, I'm going to call it. I was calling him number 6. I didn't even want to call his name anymore, but I have to give him his credit. Today, he looks assured, and I think you touched on that, Mike. Maybe it was having Alderweireld next to him. Maybe he was talking him through. He still did a couple of things in there, going out into wide areas and trying to, get players and then leaving gaps in there. And better teams who have better ability and better players maybe could have taken a bit more of an advantage. But we don't know how we would have then reacted. I wrote down earlier, Bale was fit today. He looked fit. There was a couple of instances where he was a couple of yards behind the player, knocked the ball by him, and it was then a couple of yards in front, which shows me.
He took on the guy a couple. I was like, oh.
I did exactly that as well. I was like, wow, that showed me that he's now puffing his chest out. He's just showing, I think he's just showing the media, he's showing Jose, he's showing a lot of people, maybe even Real Madrid. You know what? I'm 31 years old. You lot think I'm done, I'm finished. No, I'm not done. I'm not finished.
Quality. He's got quality. That's what he just showed today. This pure class.
100%.
That's very true.
His goals, it was just,
it was close performance.
I mean, it's just that pass to Kane for Kane's goal. It was just, it was a special part. I mean, I know you could argue that it's just a hit and hope, but Bale meant that, and it was just sublime. I mean, that ball over
quality.
Yeah, you can't.
Quality.
It was.
It was his second goal for me that was like. It was the ease of just being able to, when I get this with Kane, especially with Kane and penalties, when you just know something's going to go in, a goal is going to go in. When I saw Bale, when Bale opens his body up and a ball gets played for him on his right-hand side and he opens his body up onto his left, the chances of him scoring is going to be pretty high. If he misses it, you're going to be more surprised that he's missed than he scored. And that's what we need in our team. With Bergwijn and Lamella, like you said, Marlon, is they are technically good. Don't get me wrong. They're good players. They can move the ball. They can dribble the ball. They both have good ability, but when you see them approach the goal, you're not like, good, that's a goal. There's no conviction to their finishing. And at the end of the day, you can have all the skills you want, but if you're not putting goals away as a winger, you're going to get called out. Like, look at Traore. I mean, Traore is a great player. He's the fulcrum of Wolves' attack, but he doesn't get any goals or assists. But he doesn't get any goals and assists. He's key to their play, and he gets them forward in attack. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why Wolves aren't doing as well, because they're not scoring because Jimenez is not playing. And you need goals in your team, and Bale provides that. Bale provides me with kind of a certainty that if he's going to get the opportunity to be on goal, he's probably going to put it away. And that's why he does need to start now. I've been harsh, but he does need to start now. Yeah,
and that's a big plus for the likes of Son and for Kane. They know they've got that extra outlet who 9 times out of 10 is probably going to hit the target. I mean, that's
taking
a
the
big.
pressure off them.
Yeah, it does. It takes the pressure off them massively.
And we need
and all of a
that.
sudden, yeah, we do. And all of a sudden, it's like Son can become provider for the likes of Kane and Bale. It's a no-brainer.
Well, Son got 2 assists today. If you, sorry, Mark, just on that Bale's second goal. If you watch the whole build-up of it, there was a lot of intricate play in our midfield area, and then that built up, and then it got played in, and then it was like, I think Kane knocked it into Son again. There was a little back heel there from, I think it was Ndombele. There was a lot of intricacy then, but then to then play that ball, which Son did play to Bale, it was only going to be one outcome. Now, the defender could have done better, try to show him on his right foot, but I still think Bale on his right foot in that position was probably still going to hit the target.
Put a ball in the box at least, isn't it?
Of course, but he was one-on-one with that player. Anybody that gets up one-on-one with Bale, it's going to be luck of the draw. Yeah. He may have tried to show him on his right foot, but as soon as he made that first touch and was inside, it was only one outcome, and it was a brilliant finish. He's now showing us what we could potentially get excited about going forward for this last third of the season. And I don't care what anybody says. If we have those players, the likes of Bale, the likes of Son, the likes of Kane, Ali, you then chuck in Ndombele, you chuck in Højbjerg. Then off the bench, you could potentially have Lamela, Lucas coming on doing things. It makes us a more Lo Celso to come back. Again, Lo Celso to come back into this. It does give us much more attacking options to be able to look forward to the final. The biggest thing for me today was, and I think I mentioned it to Darius earlier, what gave us the attacking threat today was the ability to have the fullbacks forward, high and wide, and to be able to switch play. So
I think that was most important,
Yeah, if they were going to block up the midfield, because we had high and wide fullbacks, we could always switch play and then use the wide areas to then pull them out of position, which was key today. And scoring in the first minute makes a massive difference.
I think Reguilon is, I wouldn't say he's not underrated, but he's so key to Spurs. And so is Aurier when he doesn't do his madness, because they are good going forward. They're decent defenders, but we play when we need our wing backs. Well, not wing backs, our fullbacks to do the work, help out the team. And you're not going to get that from Davis or even Docky. You're definitely getting
it. I'm beginning to lose faith in that guy. Like I said, I don't want to keep nagging and ragging on our players, but Doherty needs to start doing some more. He needs to start looking like he actually wants to kind of make an impact. He just seems like he goes with the flow with a lot of games, and he's just afraid. It just seems like he's afraid. And we need to see it's clear to see now that players need to start taking a little bit more risk when, especially going forward. Like, I understand that Jose has a rigid system and he expects a shape and a defensive sort of solidity when we're not on the attack, but certain players going forward just need to kind of take a little bit more of a risk and maybe hang forward slightly, maybe 5 yards forward a little bit more. Have faith in Højbjerg and Alderweireld. But then again, I say that and I'm thinking in my head that comes with obviously having a solid defense and goalkeeper. So if you've got a solid defense, you will be inclined to take more risk. But it all comes with confidence, doesn't it, guys? I mean, this should help with everybody's confidence. So
100%. And what I'm liking, and I put the stats up because we'll have a chat about the stats as well here. So what I'm liking is the number of shots that we're now beginning to take. Against West Ham, obviously we got there was a loss, I know, but we had 20 shots and there was something like 4 on target. 16 shots today, 7 on target. Possession wise, we're up again in the stats. It's good stats to kind of build on it. And if you're a person that believes in stats, looking at that compared to something like the Brighton game or even going back further to the Liverpool games, we weren't getting these sort of stats in there. We certainly possession wise, we were always underneath. So there is an impetus change. I think there is definitely a sea change in the mentality of White. Jose maybe is thinking to himself, okay, I can do this defensive thing, but my defenders are not good enough. I have got better attackers, and nobody can tell me that our attacking front four, whatever that combination would be, is not as good as any of the front four in this division. I would compare Bale, Son, Kane to any front three in the division. Don't care what anybody tells me. If they're firing and if they're combining and playing at this sort of level, and we can get goals and assists from each of them. You have to remember, Bale got an assist today as well.
He's on 4 goals and 3 assists in the past 4 games. So
exactly. Son, 2 assists today. Kane got his goal today. Now he's usually one getting the assist. So it now looks like if we don't have them two just doing it on their own, somebody else might do something. And Moura popped up with a goal today. So we really have to look at the positives there's always going to be things we're going to be critical about, but the positives really is looking good. What we now have to do is follow this up with a victory on Thursday against Fulham. You know, this is the key to it. So again, we've got a lot of comments coming through. Let's go through some of these comments, gentlemen. So we have here Hamza. We did it. We did it. We did it. We did it. Hamza. Yep. Clean sheet. Yeah, I think that's a very important fact that we got a clean sheet today. Is this the back four that you think we should stick with going forward, or does Dyer come into it at some point? What's your thoughts on this? Marlon? Yeah, Marlon shook his head first. I'm going to go to Marlon first.
Now, is that a no to Dyer, Marlon? Is that a no to the back four now?
Let's have a listen to this now. I like what Marlon's got to say about
the thing is with Dyer, he's good, but he takes too many chances. And when he takes too many chances, like he done against West Ham, it just makes people get onto him. And the whole thing is, with Alderweireld and Sanchez, he helps Sanchez. As I'm saying, having Sanchez and Dyer together, you're going to have two players there that don't know how to take control of a situation. And you can see when Alderweireld plays with one of them, they both look a lot better. So, yeah, Dyer, you can't have them two together. I think, what were they called? Tweedledum and Tweedledee. You can't. You're even being disrespectful. You can't have them together, man. You can't.
It's true. It's true. They just lack. They lack what is. I don't know what the word is. It's
maybe leadership
composure.
skills.
I think the word is composure. Leadership and composure. Yeah.
I think it is because Dyer's supposed to be the leader at the back. He's Jose's commanding centre back that he's gonna, be pulling people, but he doesn't seem to be that person. No. It looks like Alderweireld is that person that assures the defensive back line a bit more than Dyer and Sanchez together. That seems to be what we've kind of not had. Always been before when I've seen Sanchez and Alderweireld play, I've kind of been, because I saw the West Ham, and that was when them two, and that's the one that for me was when they were 3-0 up and then they came back to 3-3. That's always stuck with me, them two getting under pressure. But today they dealt with it. They seem to deal with some of the boxes. Like you said, maybe too many crosses were going in, but they dealt with the pressure. So again, I'll ask you that, Mike. What do you think of this defensive lineup going forward?
Yeah, it kept a clean sheet. You can't change a back line that's kept a clean sheet. I know they did change it from midweek, but you can't change a winning team, can you?
Jose seems to be able to do. He seems to do that.
I just think if something's not broken, doesn't need fixing. So for me, I would probably, if all the players are fit enough and they can do Thursday's game, you might have to just manage Bale a little bit, and maybe you might have to manage Toby a little bit just because of his age and his legs or whatever. But for me, I'd keep that same team. The confidence must be high.
Apparently with Toby, the reason that they keep changing it is because he's always a high risk of getting an injury.
Yeah, he's always been kind of injury prone though, hasn't he? Like he's had niggles when he was in his prime. So I mean, I understand that Toby not starting week in week out, but then again, like we've got another centre back in Rodon who's not getting any game time, and it's like if you're gonna play Dyer and he's gonna continuously make mistakes. Like, why not give the other guy a chance? And I know that I know that he may be, like I said, we may be seeing Jose may be seeing completely different things in the training ground, and we might not see the full picture of what's going on. But from when I watch the games, Rodon has more of a composure and calm air than Dyer does, and he has got the potential to make a mistake, but so does everybody. He's a 22-year-old centre back just joining the Premier League, but. Yeah, I think like we said, I think they are probably the best two, or for me, anybody with Toby, to be fair. I just think that you need somebody who can control a back line and who has a little bit of it's rude to say, like I said, we say football IQ and that. Sanchez is not a retard, he's not an idiot, but he does lack that footballing IQ, and Toby can kind of put him into place and say, you're here to do one thing, you've got the pace, you've got the strength, you can get back. I can't do that. I'll tell you where to go. That's the partnership. That's how it should work.
So
Toby's got the experience, hasn't he?
Well, did you do when any of you guys can answer this? Do you agree with Hamza? Sanchez was excellent today.
100%.
I think it's hard to say otherwise, isn't it? You can't really argue. I mean, the guy probably had his best game in a long, long time.
But then, do we say he's excellent because of the previous performances and what we kind of expect from Sanchez? Because I see
I was
that
say
sort of
the
performance
same thing.
being put in from from Højbjerg, players like Højbjerg, players like Alderweireld, they kind of expect to put that performance in, and I should hold Sanchez to that same regard. If
are we measuring Sanchez? I think you're right in that, Darius. Are we measuring Sanchez against his really poor performances? So when he does what I would say is a standard performance. Now, given the opposition, given where they are, given that their results against us haven't been great over the last few years anyway, is this Sanchez being excellent, or is this just playing at a level which we would expect him to play at? Mike?
For me, I was just going to say, I just wanted to get up the, sorry to interrupt, I just wanted to get the stats. I think you can look at the stats, and centre-back stats are kind of iffy for me. They don't really explain a lot, but the big one for me is the errors. He didn't make any errors. And like, for me, that kind of shows a good Sanchez performance, as bad as that sounds, because we kind of expect one error from Sanchez every game. So to say that he's not put any errors in this game, all I want to say is that's probably a good sign for Sanchez to say that he's probably had a good performance, because we normally associate with a game one Sanchez mistake in that game, and I can't really do that this game. So I think he was good. I think he did play good. Yeah,
I think he played well. He's probably playing or played to the standard that we want. But again, I'm not going to criticize his performance there. I thought he played well, so I'm gonna let him take the pat on the back. He deserves it.
Yeah, and I think that's right. When someone plays well, we can't try and pick too many holes. Although I do, because I look at it as being the next level of opposition. Burnley are where they are for a reason. They were shocking in their last performance anyway, so they do miss their main players, and that being Ashley Barnes and Chris Woods up front. That's going to take away from any team if your best two players are not playing. That being said, we can only do what we do. Sanchez could only do what he was doing. So I still believe maybe he was better today for two reasons. One, he wasn't under as much pressure as he normally is, but two, he had Sanchez. He had Alderweireld alongside him, who was a little bit more of a common influence. Had Dyer been alongside Sanchez,
might have been different.
It may have been a lot different, because I don't believe them two playing together do anything for each other. Dyer doesn't help Sanchez out. Yeah, and Sanchez doesn't help Dyer out. So they both look bad. And then Lloris chips in with mistakes because there's no leader in that triangle of a back three. So we have to look at the positives. We have to then look at what we do against maybe someone like Fulham, and then going into coming up pretty soon, the likes of Crystal Palace, and then obviously Arsenal to look forward to. So that's when we really get a
when's the Europa games as well?
3 weeks?
Thursday week. Yeah, a week on Thursday, I think it is. Okay. Or is it going to be changed because of the Arsenal thing? I'm not sure.
Oh, we might have to
change. It's only away, like the home away. Yeah, I think our first game is going to be away instead of home.
Oh, is that right? Or is it going to be
or reverse to home away? Basically, yeah. One team, one of us or an Arsenal will be home, and then we'll be away for the reverse fixture.
That's because they won the cup, apparently, isn't it?
Yeah, that's weird. Like they get, I don't know, weird.
Let's deal with a few more comments then. Errol got the timing right again. Well done, Errol. Thank you. Good evening, gentlemen. Here's an interesting one. Lloris is underrated. 100 clean sheets, joins a group of just 15 goalkeepers. What's your thoughts on Lloris?
Lloris is not underrated. I don't have much to say, but Lloris is not underrated. How many games? He's been here since 2011, hasn't he? Been here 10 years.
Has he? Has it been 10 years?
I think he joined in 2011. I mean, we had one of the best defenses for about 3 years, so I expect him to be up there, but I don't think Lloris is underrated. I can't agree with that one.
I think he's
just about rated. I think he's more overrated than underrated. I think just because I'll be real with you. I'll be real with you. Like, Lloris won a World Cup, and he gets lauded for that because he was a captain and he won a World Cup. But it's not like he had to do. He wasn't the reason they won a World Cup. He just lifted the trophy. There was plenty of other players outfield that had more contribution to.
He's still got. He's still got to keep the goals out.
I know, and I don't want to rag on him, but people say like Lloris is like one of the best keepers in the world, and he's not. He's really not. He's not, because he makes a lot of mistakes.
I think you should stop there.
I don't know. Am I being harsh? I don't really.
I think you should stop there.
I don't know, man.
I think Lloris is. He has made. Let's not get it wrong. He has made a few mistakes this season which have cost us. But I wouldn't say he's underrated. I wouldn't say he's overrated. I think he's just a good goalkeeper. I know he's coming into the latter part of his career, but he's the fact that PSG want him, or supposedly want him. I think that goes to show sort of the level that he's sort of at. So
I think he's a good keeper.
Yeah.
I would say that as we all know, there is always a mistake in him. It's just the amount of mistakes in him recently have been more apparent. And I think that's what's kind of made us think, oh, is he the right keeper?
Yeah.
He's getting on the age now, but he has saved us in a lot of games. He's made some really good saves, but I always go back to the fact, should a keeper of that stature make those saves? Of course he should. You know, I think he's a World Cup winner and he has got that air about him that, you know, he can be a leader. He does sometimes. You know, there's a lot of people say that, particularly journalists in the games when there's no crowd, they can hear Lloris all the time, constantly talking, which you don't actually get when, you know, there's crowds in there. So he is a leader in that sense. I just think sometimes he does lack a little bit of, has a bit of a crisis of confidence. You know, when he makes one mistake, he then makes another mistake, then compounded again.
I'm going to challenge you there. I'm going to say he's been suspect when we've had bad defenders around him. Prime example, look at Alisson this season. No Van Dijk. He's just acting like he's some third-rate goalkeeper. I think if you ain't got the right defenders in front of you or confidence in them, you're going to start overthinking and doing stuff you don't need to. And then that's going to create problems. And
that's a good point.
I'm also going to flip that though and say there's keepers in this league who I think have had much better seasons than Lloris, who have worse defenders. And how I judge a keeper, and then this, like I said, this goes for different for everyone, but how I judge a keeper is how they save their team in that sort of when they're needed. And for me, Lloris's main ability is shot stopping. And like I said, a keeper should be expected to shot stop. But when we talk about his distribution, I don't think his distribution is very good. I don't think he plays well under pressure. For me, Lloris doesn't do anything extra for me to call him like a great goalkeeper. Like I think he's a good goalkeeper, like you said.
Let me ask the question then. Let me ask the question, Darius, and you can answer this first, and then the others can answer as well. On today's performances and looking forward to next season, would you rather have Nick Pope in goal or Lloris at the start of next season?
That's a difficult question, that one.
It is a difficult one. Right now we're testing you.
Now the first thought in my head is Nick Pope, but then again, Nick Pope doesn't do anything that Lloris doesn't do, and like Lloris has more. He has that leadership about him, and he's been at Spurs, so I wouldn't get rid of Lloris for Nick Pope. But for Dean Henderson, I'd get rid of Lloris because he's 23, and I think Dean Henderson is just as good as Lloris. So it's Nick Pope is not the best example, but I would.
I don't think we're going to get Dean Henderson, but
no, we won't. That's what I mean.
Chance of getting Nick Pope. So if the chance came up, and we had the choice to say, right, Lloris, we can send you on your way, get a bit of money for you, bring Nick Pope in. Would you do that?
No, because Nick Pope's 28 years old. I don't that wouldn't be. I don't think that would be very smart. If it was anybody younger, and maybe so.
The keeper I'd go for is that Sam Johnson. His distribution is probably the best I've seen in the Premier League.
West Brom goal. Sam Johnson's great. There's Newcastle have two good goalkeepers. He's decent. He's decent age as well. Yeah. Like I said, I think that Lloris has been rated highly because of his captaincy in the teams, and obviously he's won. I do genuinely believe that. I do think that Lloris has been seen in a higher regard. But I will admit, Lloris he has got leadership qualities and he is a good shot stopper. But goalkeepers are evolving now. I feel like when we're talking about goalkeepers, a lot of goalkeepers relieve their defenders of pressure, and sometimes Lloris might put our defenders under pressure, and it might make our defenders look worse. And I don't know if that's just me looking at it from Lloris's perspective of I've never seen Lloris play a ball out from the back. I've never seen build-up play like that because Lloris doesn't really do that. I don't know. I just think that Lloris gets a bit. I do think he gets overrated, but that's a different debate. We shouldn't really be talking about this because he kept a clean sheet. He didn't have much to do in this game. So
and for me today, his distribution was okay because again he was playing when they were trying to play out from the back, and I noticed what Burnley were doing. They were pushing high up onto Sanchez and Alderweireld. But what our wide fullbacks did for us today was allowed him to play that almost like a chip pass into that wide area.
Yeah.
And I didn't see him misplace any of them today, which is I've seen him misplace them when not under pressure. I've seen him knock them into touch, and I'm thinking, bloody hell, this guy can't do this at all. He's playing out from the back. But today he was able to play that. Now again, is that just a bit of confidence? Is it down to lack of pressure? There's a number of factors why he could have been better. I just think going forward, the top keepers, as we mentioned, are the ones that can play out from the back in all situations, under pressure, play that ball out and find their players. he didn't do bad today for that.
Who are the top goalkeepers that you say can do that?
Edison's the best at it. Edison's the best at it. Alisson's good at it. And then you have different goalkeepers like Oblak, who's just an all-round, just world-class goalkeeper. But for me, it's Edison's the Atletico Madrid. Edison's the blueprint, isn't he? The way Edison, and you can see City score goals from Edison's passes because he can put a ball. Imagine you can play a ball directly into the midfield with Ndombele, and he takes a half turn and Ndombele gets on his back. You can have goals that can come from 3 passes and it can start from the keeper. And I'm not getting on Lloris for not being able to do that. I'm just saying that Lloris has one outstanding ability, I think, and that's his shot stopping. And then he's got his leadership qualities as well, but that comes with experience. I think that the way football is going now, you can do a lot more with a keeper who can play out from the back. I've seen it with City now. A lot of City's attacks come from one pass from Edison and then one pass from De Bruyne or one pass from the midfield, and it goes very unheard. And again, it comes with a good defense as well because Edison's got the most clean sheets. But look at the defense, like look at who's in front of him. Diaz and Stones and Laporte have come in and made an impact, and that it feeds to Edison. If you've got a solid partnership in front of you, you're going to feel more confident. Like you said, Marlon, with Liverpool, with Alisson. I mean, he was one of the best keepers in the world, and now he looks like a Karius reborn. So sometimes in games, I do understand.
Hamza's made this comment. He seems to think, and as I said, I think you're right in some of the things. Edison makes so many mistakes. Edison has got the backup of having John Stones and Ruben Diaz now in front of him, who at this moment in time are probably the best centre-back pairing in terms of stats. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when you've got a great pairing at the back who are going to get you out of trouble, your goalkeeper can make mistakes playing out from the back. But what your goalkeeper has to keep low is the amount he mistakes when he's shot stopping or, from crosses, because it generally leads to a goal. So we always get hypercritical of goalkeepers when they make mistakes because it does tend to lead to a goal. When you're playing from the back and you're distributing the ball, you can, to a degree, get away with it if your defenders can get you out of that trouble. So it doesn't become as compounded. You play a ball out and then a forward gets it and your defenders don't get it and then they score from it. It's the keeper's fault. Whereas he plays out from the back, the forward gets it and the defenders stop it. You don't always then hammer your keeper because he kind of gets away with it. So Jordan Pickford's a prime example. He's a great keeper with his feet, but he's not very good in goal, in my opinion. I don't think he's great in goal.
He does make a couple worldies, but it's like the worldies, you can make 2 worldie saves a game, but if you've made 3 errors and you lose 3-2, who cares about the 2 worldie saves you made? At the end of the day, you've got that as a keeper, you have that pressure where you cannot make massive mistakes in your goal because it will lead to a goal. And I think the best keepers are the ones either who keep those to a minimum or who get their teams out of jail, who are constantly making saves. And I think that was a good point that you made with Sam Johnston, where he's kept West Brom in games. I mean, he played great against Liverpool. How many shots did Liverpool have against West Brom? And they came back and drew the game 1-1. And you have to credit your keepers for that. That's the sort of performances. When I say a keeper has to be high quality, that's why I expect a keeper to bail him out, no matter the team he's playing for.
But is it a tricky one? If you're constantly under pressure as a team or in a team like West Brom, you're generally going to be pulling off saves anyway because
that's
you're going
to be
so much
100%.
Pressure. That's, I don't know if Pope is really that good, because if he comes to a team that's a bigger team, a bigger team, and that there's going to be a lot more pressure. I don't know how you'll do.
Especially being at Burnley, where he's probably not expected to play the ball out as well. I think there's a specific keeper that you have to, if you don't mind. If you're a defensive team or you're a team that allows a lot of shots against you, you kind of look for different things in your goalkeeper. You want a keeper who can stop as many shots as possible. But as a team like Tottenham who want to dominate games, your keeper has to do more than shot stop. I think that's the point I'm trying to get at. If you're a big team like Tottenham and you're trying to push for top 4, even like I said, we were top of the league at one point. If you want to stay at the top of the league, your keeper has to do more than just shot stop. I think your keeper has to be an 11th player effectively. He has to kind of start attacks and build from there. So that's the only point I make when I make reference to Lloris. Lloris in a different team would probably look better. Like I said, if he was at PSG, he wouldn't have much to do. And I'd imagine Lloris would maintain the concentration to make a couple good saves that he would have to. But while Tottenham are playing this sort of style and allowing this many shots, he's done okay. He hasn't made that many mistakes that have led to goals. But if we are going to play like this with Mourinho, you need an elite keeper. And I don't think I can call Lloris elite But
So
again, look at the partnership in front of him. So
I'm going to move off Lloris now, but
yeah,
I want to ask Mike this first. Sanchez is only 24 years of age, and Mike and Marlon, because you both are Sanchez fans, do you think Sanchez could be the future? Given he, I'm only joking. Given that he's only 24, could he be the future of our defense? Would you pin your hopes on him being the #1 centre back in our club with a little bit more time, given that he's only 24 now?
No.
Say it how it is, man. It's true, though, isn't it? Say it how it is.
I wouldn't. Simple as.
It's true.
He's got too many mistakes in him.
Well, go on then.
Simple. I'm not going to elaborate on that.
Oh no, I was going to say if you wanted to give a little bit more on that, because I said I agree with you.
I just don't think. I don't think he could ever be. I mean, most great centre backs are leaders. From a relatively young sort of age, and they learn from their mistakes. I wouldn't pin my hopes on that with Sanchez. I can't ever see him being a leader. I can't see him ever dominating the back line, being that pivotal figure in the back line where you could rely on and sort of count on when the times are going tough, that he'll deal with the pressure. I just don't think that'll ever be him. He may be able to get into a good run of form. Like this game today might do his confidence good, and he might go into the rest of the season in good form and play well. But form and class are two different things. And I compare sort of Sanchez to that of Toby, and they're just two different players for different reasons. And yeah, I just don't ever foresee Sanchez ever being that type of person that we can rely on. He'll certainly never be like a Ledley King. Let's put it that way. I just can't ever see it.
I don't see us as a club selling him, because I don't see us getting the money back. We paid like what 45 million for him, or whatever it was.
He was a record signing.
Yeah. So saying that, then Marlon, if we're not going to get rid of him, what can we do to build around him? Because I think that's what they're going to do. I personally don't believe he's good enough, but when you pay 40-odd million for a centre back, there must be a reason why they've done that. And if they can't get that money back, they ain't selling him. So Sanchez being 24, what are we going to do for next season?
I would keep him. So I'll tell you why. You got to think. Remember, he was a captain at Ajax for couple seasons before. I think he's got it in him. He just needs the right coach with him. Maybe Mourinho could work with him. Also, you got to remember, I think this season he had a baby, so he had a few little outside issues going on. Yeah, I think he's got the potential to do it, and I would stick my head on the line to say, give him a couple more seasons, he could be our captain and leader.
That's really putting head on the line
there. Given the
he's going to put his neck on the line for that.
You know what it is for me? I can see where you're coming from, because he's got quality, hasn't he? He's got qualities in him. But for me, there's two things with Sanchez. It's one, if Jose Mourinho can't coach you to be a great centre-back, or can't coach the bad habits out of you, I don't really know any other manager who's really going to be able to. And two, my way of improving Sanchez is buying a world-class centre-back who's got leadership qualities to partner him. And I don't think we can afford to pay the money to... Like, why would you pay 60 million to improve Sanchez? Do you know what I mean? Like, Sanchez should be able to improve himself.
What I'll say to that, I want Marlon to kind of go, but what I'll say to that is, we looked at John Stones, and everybody gave John Stones hell over the last couple of years at Man City, saying he's not good enough. He make his mistake after mistake, and he was. And there's two things. So going back to your point, Marlon, maybe we do give him a couple of years, but then going back to Darius's point, maybe we need to get somebody alongside him.
Yeah, Stones wouldn't have been playing like this if Diaz didn't sign. Diaz, I know I can't put that all on Diaz, because that's kind of rude on Stones' development over the season. But for me, if Diaz didn't join, Stones wouldn't be playing as much, or maybe wouldn't be playing as well, because obviously they didn't have many centre backs. I just think that Diaz has elevated Stones' performance, and if you're going to pay 60 million to elevate another centre back's performance, it's expensive, and you've got to get it right. And like, it's hard.
Would you say Stones is world class?
He's got potential.
He's at the moment. Yeah, he is. At the moment, he is. At the
I
moment,
don't
he's
know
playing
about-
well. Oh yeah,
I don't
him and
know.
Diaz have only conceded 3 goals between them. So like, you
I
have to
can't-
say the numbers show that Stones is he can ball play. He's got everything.
Yeah,
He scored
100%.
4 goals
Good
this
footballer.
season, but
He ain't world
it's come
class.
from it's
I don't know
it's
about
come from
world
Diaz. Well, is Diaz world class then? Diaz has to be world class. Look at the defense. You can't Laporte's not played, and Stones and Diaz have played, and they've got the best defense in the league by far. They've conceded like 3 goals
But
between them. One
how
of them
old
has to be
Diaz
world
now?
class.
How
Diaz
old
is only 23. Diaz is 23.
23. You can't call
Stones is
someone.
25. I can.
For me-
I can. I think Diaz is world class. Diaz
Is the
deserves
Premier
play.
League
If
good?
City win the league, Diaz deserves player of the season.
Is the Premier League a
100%.
good? Is it a good league? The Premiership. Is it a good league?
Yeah.
But surely to be
know,
world
man.
class, you've got to be doing it consistently throughout your career. You can't just be world class.
He was
off
a
the back
captain
one
of
season.
Benfica at 20 years
This is
old.
good, lads. I like
He
this.
was a Ruben Diaz for me has been the reason why City are 10 points clear. If Diaz did not join, they wouldn't be 10 points clear. They looked pants. They did look pants. And I'm sorry, but you can't have those stats. You can't change Manchester City. We're not talking about a mid-table club. He's come in to Manchester City, who have had Laporte and Stones, good centre backs, and he's come in and said, "Nah, I'm the guy. I'm the leader. I'm gonna get everybody to elevate them." He's what else has changed apart from Ruben Diaz? Tell me. Nothing's changed in that City team.
So I'll give my little bit, and I'm not saying this is right, but what I'll say is City dominate more games than they don't dominate. So
100%.
when you dominate the
Yeah.
games more, your defense is less likely to be under pressure.
Right.
Yeah.
We've not had any team, I don't believe there's any team that's played City that have had a higher percentage than them in terms of possession. And usually they dominate possession by 65% to 35, something like that. What they've had to do, what Pep has got them to do is cut down on their mistakes. So they've been very dependable. Let's say you put those two in Burnley's defense under pressure every single week. Maybe you might get a different opinion. You might have a different opinion.
Yeah.
100%. So that's where I would
disagree
really.
with that.
No, I agree with what you're saying. You can see the class in them, but they're not under pressure like how we've been under pressure, and
Yeah.
certainly not like teams are lower down.
And
Put them to John Stones and Diaz in a Burnley defense, you might see a few more problems.
Yeah, and there's no way John Stones is world class. I'm not having that for 1 minute. Not 1 minute.
He's
You saw
only
him in the
25. He's only
Remember
25
that
as well.
last
Though.
World Cup? Was it the last World Cup? Or was it the Euro?
Yeah,
It was the last World Cup.
2018. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Like I said, I don't know what the answer is, but
Diaz has got the potential.
there's some pros and cons. Is Sanchez long term for us? I'm not sure he's a long-term leader for us. I'm not sure he's a long-term replacement for anybody really, but he can be a good squad player if you play him alongside someone who's very, very good as well. And we need that very, very good player. If we had a younger Toby, 2 or 3 years younger Toby, ideal. Maybe if we had Vertonghen, who was again the left-sided centre-back, ideal. I would think that him alongside him with a really commanding Vertonghen, you'd probably see a better Sanchez. Maybe I've been giving him too much grief because we've been saying that he's not this player because he hasn't had that player alongside him. Maybe he needs that. Maybe that's what we do.
Yeah,
need
but you
to
shouldn't
have.
really be. You shouldn't be really saying that about your players. Like you shouldn't be saying you need a player for you to be good. You should take responsibility as a centre. I know that centre backs play better when they've got better players around them, but as a centre back, we can't be babying our players like that and saying, well, Sanchez, maybe if you had somebody else who was good around you, you'd be better. Because at the end of the day, there's players in that team where I know for a fact Harry Kane, regardless of who's on the pitch, he's still gonna put in a good performance. It doesn't matter if Son's not there, if Ndombele's not there, Kane's still gonna be able to play at a high level because he's just that good. And unfortunately, it comes back to what we say all the time: is he good enough? Is he just good enough? And will he get good enough? And do you have the patience? And do you have the patience to say if Sanchez makes another mistake or two, will you be like, yeah, let's give him time. He's 24 years old. Because for me, at 24, I know centre backs reach their prime a little bit later, but at 24 as a centre back,
a lot later, really. At 20,
yeah,
24,
yeah.
a lot later.
But at 24 as a centre back, you should
to 30, isn't it?
You should be kind of on that. You shouldn't be making the mistakes that Sanchez makes. I feel like at 24, you cut those errors out, or they're just in your game for the rest of your career. And I think Sanchez is always going to be that player who kind of head goes or head drifts. And I can't really think of any good.
You see, the thing is with Sanchez, he's very committed. That's one thing you can't take.
Yeah, he works hard.
I think his distribution ain't great, but other than that, I think his game to me is decent. And if he gets the right coach with him and another defender, like even Alderweireld next to him, I think he'll be decent. But as I said, I'm putting my head on the line with that one.
Mike?
This is Sanchez, isn't it? I think as you get older, you get wiser. You do get more. As you get older, you get more experience, and you should learn from your mistakes. And I think as you do get older, you do end up cutting out the mistakes that you may have made when, like, at Sanchez's age now. So maybe when he's 28, 29, he might not be making the same sort of mistakes that he's making now. But would I have the patience?
5 years, that is. We're waiting 4 or 5. I mean, Eric Bailly is 26 and he's still doing things. And that's what I feel like the same trajectory that Eric Bailly is going, where he's a good centre back. Don't get me wrong, Eric Bailly is a good centre back, but he's got those errors in him where he'll always have that potential to make a mistake. And I just don't think that we, as Spurs right now in the situation that we're in, we haven't got a good enough defense to kind of be piggybacking players and giving players a chance. People need to be performing.
I think the other thing as well is, can we afford to allow and accept the mistakes he's making? I don't think we can.
Currently, no. Currently, we can't.
You know what I'm going to do? I think we're going to have this as a talking point. Sanchez is going to be on the talking points because I think it's a really good one.
Sanchez is actually going to come on talking points and talk. Let's get him on. I'm down for that. I'd love that.
You know what? Because of now, right? So I'm still not convinced by him. Will time convince me? Depending on who we bring alongside him. He's 24. He's got time on his side. I want to see, right, what we do now on Thursday, what we do then, let's say on Sunday when we play against Crystal Palace. If he's playing in those 2 games as well, because we haven't got no Europa, so he's not going to have anything to do with tiredness. Let's see if we can then maybe have a bit more of a, you know what, he's not as bad as I thought. Because I at this moment in time, I don't think he's the one, but I'll be more convinced if this can continue with Alderweireld and we see them doing a bit better. And if he can suddenly, it's his positional play for me. That's what he's got to change. But that can be coached. You know, that really
Jose
can.
As his coach. If Jose can't coach him, who the hell is going to be able to coach him that? This Jose Mourinho is his coach right now. Jose is literally like defensive god. Like, how can you, if he can't coach him that at 24, he's not 18 either, he's 24, so he's a mature man. If Jose can't coach him that at 24 years old, no one's gonna be able to coach him. I'm gonna be so real with you.
Is his English good?
Yeah, he's got good English. He's got good English.
I've never heard him speak, you know. Okay, just saying.
He doesn't really do many interviews at that, but he's got good English. I know that he's got good English.
Yeah.
Let's maybe save this for a talking points because I really want to expand on that because I think there's pros and cons with him and there's definitely differences of opinions with him, and I think that's good because as a team we want to get the best out of our players, we want to have the best team available, but maybe there's a little bit to say that
would you give Winks another 4 years? That's all I'm going to say. Would you give Harry Winks 4 years?
No.
Got to keep the same. Got to keep that same mentality.
I wouldn't give him another 4 months.
That's because I think we've got better players. Winks in our setup currently.
That is true. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I understand.
And he's obviously not happy being on the bench and stuff. So
Winks would do well at like a Villa or one of those. Leicester, Villa, West Ham, one of them. He'd be good there.
I think, like you said, Marlon, somewhere where he's maybe not under as much pressure, where he's got more time, like a Spanish team. You know, he might look half decent. You know what I'm saying? I think he will.
I think a couple of Spanish teams are looking for him, to be honest.
Valencia were talking about him. And I can see that working because, again, you put him in a conventional number 4 with 2 in front, and he has got maybe that bit more space between the forwards attacking him and the midfielders. Yeah, Winks will be neat and tidy. I just don't know whether or not he's going to be good enough at our level because I think the Premiership pace is too much for him at times. And he doesn't. Yeah, some games I see him, I think, oh, Winks is decent, but then there's other games where I think,
just not consistent, is he? You could probably say that's not because he's not getting enough game time, but
essentially,
But we're not complaining. We're not complaining that Winks not getting. There's a difference. We're not complaining that Winks not getting game time. It's Ali and Bale who we can kind of see will have an impact on the team, and that's why we're pushing for them to be in that 11.
I think Lo Celso is going to be a talking point soon. When
I
he's
think
I'm
he's-
worried. I'm
yeah.
slightly worried about
Interesting.
Lascelles. I'm slightly worried. I hope this injury thing isn't like a consistent injury issue, because I need to see that guy play. I really love Lascelles, but he's
Well,
just, his injuries have been
if-
affecting him badly now.
if you look, he's been out since December, and obviously up until that point, December, we were kind of flying. We were really flying. Now,
was he starting though? I don't think he was starting really.
He
No, but the
wasn't-
fact is,
Yeah,
I
it
think
was a bit.
I think he was starting some games, but what it allowed was what now. Now, if you look fast forward, we weren't able to play Ndombele alongside Højbjerg because Jose didn't quite think he was fit enough or trusted him enough. Now he does. Now you can imagine you've got now a choice of Dele Alli to play in that 10. You've got Lo Celso to play in that 10. You've got Mora, you've got Lamela. We suddenly have a lot more options. So in training, you're going to see players maybe up their game. If you know that you've got two really good players behind them in Ndombele and Højbjerg, but then you've got another quality player who can rotate with Højbjerg and Ndombele, who can come back in and can do a 4 and do an 8 and do a 6.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're talking about a 3 midfielders who can rotate, and then you really are talking really good levels.
I'm having Lo Celso in. Sorry for cutting you. I'm having Lo Celso instead of Lucas, because when he was at Real Madrid,
100%.
That's where he was playing. Even though I saw video clips, and you know the YouTube clips will make out players are amazing, but he looked very good there. And I think
he got into the box. That's what he did. He was very good at getting into the box. He's really good. Like
he's a baller.
Yeah, he is good, but it's the injuries are worrying me now. It's like,
but he can do exactly what, not saying exactly, he can do as much as what Ndombele can do.
Yeah,
and he can do that job playing deeper as well as more forward. That's the difference he gives us.
Yeah,
I can't see Lucas Moura playing in a number 4 role. But I can see Lo Celso playing a number 4 role.
He is a little bit of like a Lamela and Ndombele hybrid in comparing to our players, where he's got that tenacity of Lamela, but he's also got the technical quality of a player like Ndombele who can play a forward pass. And I think that's what we need. But it's like I keep saying, I just need him to be fit.
Agreed. I think we should wrap up now, because we've got some really good talking points, and I think that's the thing. I was hoping we could probably do that on Monday, so we'll try and set that up. But half time so far, Chelsea Man United, it's 0-0, so it's a bit boring at the moment, unless there's been end-to-end goal threats and goalkeepers. But we can go and see that, gentlemen. It's been really good, and the smiles back on our faces. So that's one good thing. 4-0 to the Spurs. Like, subscribe, share, comment. FTB Sports Football. We will make sure we get to that 500, the road to 500. Look out for our other shows. As we said, we're talking points tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Look out for the other shows. There's the Studs Up tomorrow, 7:30, and that's dealing with Man United issues and talking points for there. And also the Arsenal shows, and also Liverpool. I believe you'll see a post-match reaction show later on tonight for their games, and post-match reaction for the Man United games. And breathe. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's go watch let's just take this on to the next game. We'll be doing the preview show for the Fulham game on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching, and we're out. Bye.